Today, our project topic is going to be about an online store. Why we created this program. So, buying groceries can be really troublesome if you live in the cities. There's a lot of traffic, and sometimes you may forget the grocery you wanted to buy. So, in order to solve this problem, we set up a program that basically you can buy your groceries online. This program is less time consuming, and you can buy your groceries anytime, anywhere. About the program. This program makes a list out of all of the products sold at the store. It then divides the product into different categories so it's easier for customers to choose from. Lastly, it adds the products wanted by the customer and calculates the amount needed for the customer to pay at the counter.
For our final C++ project, we made a shop that sells items from six different categories, and in the six categories, we have four in each category for items. So how we made that possible was we made an array that will two-dimensional array that will store all the data from the six categories and store all the data from the four items. So this is the we did a hash define row 6, which represents the six categories, and hash define row a column 4, which is the four items in each category. And we made a class, and in the private section, we this is where we define or we initialize the array, which is has called item name. This array stores the information on the name of the items that we are selling, and the dimensions are the row, which is represents the column. I mean, which represents the categories, the number of categories, which is six categories, and the column, which is the number of items in each category, which is four. We have the name of the items uh, inside each of the categories, which is this is like the first category, this is the second one, the third one, and so on. And we also store the data for the item pricing, and this is the same format as the last, the category, and this is the item number, and this is category one, two, three, and so on. So in our public for the class, we have a get name, which will retrieve data from the specific elements using like the user in. I mean, we input something here, and it will retrieve the data from that specific element. And we also have the same for get price, which does the same thing. And we also have a set quantity. The set quantity, we have another array here, which is a global array, and it's set to static, so the default value will be 0. And we have a sort of function here that will take in three values, which is int x, int y, and int z. The x will represent the category, and y will represent the item number, same as before. But the z will be the amount of quantity that it will add, and it will keep updating the amount of quantity that the user will input later on, which we'll show you. And we also have another function here that will get the quantity, and it will return with the value inside, with the data inside the specific uh, the specific element. And so in our main function, we have this part that builds the interface for our code. So if we run this code, you can see the interface being built here, and we also have a user input prompt here, which says please select an option, and it will go into uh, it will um, tell the user to it will give a input into an option, and here we have a minus equals one, so that the format when we want to convert it to the array element, it will be fine. And so once the user input their data, we have it go through an if function, which will check the uh, if the user input is valid or not. So if it's bigger than or equal to zero, we set it one number below, because we have it minus one here, and so we check if it's less than zero, or I mean if it's bigger than zero or less than the amount of categories, which is the row, and we have it go to a second menu function, um, which we'll have up here. The second menu function will take in int x. Int x is the option that the user input, and this will give us the category that the user put in, and in this will build up um, the interface, sort of the table thingy, and we have a for loop here that will go on for four times, and it will keep displaying the name of the items inside the category X, which the user selected previously, and it will go through from one. I is the I in the for loop, and it will go from one to four. So it will get the name, and it will get the price, and it will display it, and we'll demonstrate it here. So if I select meats, it will show me the item from one to four, and it will go through the category one, and from the category one, it will show the item uh, from the one to four, and it will also show the price from one to four. And we also have an option here that will ask the user to enter the item number. And in order to make this work, we use the same logic as before. We minus equals one, so we can have it properly set to be used with an array. And we have an if statement that checks if the user input is valid or not. And the first part, it will display the item selected, which will show the name of the item in the category that the and option one un, is the item number that the user selected. And it will also ask the user to enter the quantity, which will put it in another it's a this is a temporary variable. And from here, we will put it in the set quantity, which we showed up here previously. The set quantity, we have in the set quantity, we have the number X, which is the category, and the option one, which is the item number, and the quantity. The quantity here is the Z. The Z here, plus equals Z, means that it will keep adding to the item quantity, so it will keep updating the quantity, even though the user if the user wants to add more, then it will add new ones. Okay. So then we also have the option here. It says enter minus one to return to main menu. Oh, yeah, here after your user enters their quantity, it will clear the system and display that the item was added successfully, and we can show that here. So for example, if I want chicken, I will enter the number for chicken, and it will display the uh, name for the chicken, and I can display the amount of quantity I want. So if I want two, it will show item added successfully, and it will automatically return. And we also have the option to enter minus one to return to main menu. And in order to do this, we just else if option equals minus two, and we put it to minus two because we offset it previously, and it will return to zero. And when it returns zero in the main function, once it returns to zero, it will straight go to menu, which is the statement here. So it will display back this part of the code. And we can demonstrate that here. If I enter -1, it will go back to the main menu and display it. Um, we also have a else statement which will go to an error function. In the error function we have up here, it will display error message which says invalid input, and we can show that here if we go to the category 1, and if we say we want item number 5 which doesn't exist, it only goes from 1 to 4, it will display invalid input, then it will go back. Um, okay, so that's it for the second menu, and this will go on for until like seafood. It will show the seafood category. The fruits, it will show the apple, lemons, grapes, for cleaning supplies and so on. And so the second part, so this is the coding we use to go through um, the user input from 1 to 6. And so we also have here, it says bill report, and bill report is basically uh, it shows the total pricing of all the items the uh, customers added. So we have it else if option equals to 6, and we have it at 6 because we offset it before, and it will go through a function named bill report. In bill report, up here it will build a interface that will show the item name, quantity, and price. And here is where we have the logic for it. So we have a for loop that goes on for 6 times that will scan through every category, and inside that we have a for loop that goes on for 4 times that will scan through every item. So this will go through every item in every category, and it will check if the quantity of the item is not equal to 0. It will display the name of the item, and it will show the quantity. And to get the total pricing, we have the get price multiplied by the quantity. And for this one, we also update the price, which will equal to the price plus the data of the like the price of the item that they scan through, and the quantity that they have. And here we have a see out total, which will display the total price. This part is only the price of the items individually. And then we also have a system pause here, which will have a prompt that says press any key to continue, and it will return to 0. And when it returns to 0, it goes on just like last time. When it comes back to main, it will go back to menu, which will go back to the main interface. And we can show that here. So I added, if I add 4 beef, it will show item added successfully. And if I go to the bill report, it will show me this is the chicken, this is the quantity I previously added, and here is the beef I added, and it will show the price, and then here's the total price. And if I want to add more, I can go back, and if I go to beef, I can add 2 more beef, and then I can go back to the main menu, and it will display me that I have 6 beef now, and it will update the pricing. So the next part is the exit choice, and if the user wants to exit, it will go to this exit menu function, which will display an interface that prompts the user um, to enter why a yes or no, depends on if they're sure they want to exit. So we have a input here, yes and no, and an if statement. If the user put yes, then it will display a message says thanks for shopping with us and exit the program. And if the user says no, it will return back to the main function. And if it's an invalid number, it will show that error message and return back to the function. And when you return back, it will go back to the menu. And we have an For this one, we can display it here. So if the user wants to exit, you press 8. And if you want, you put yes, and it will display the thanks for shopping with us, and the program ends. And for the final part in the main function, we have an else statement that in case the user put an invalid um, input, it will go to the error menu. It will display that error message, and it will go back straight to the main menu, which is here, and it will show this part again. So that's it for our final project.